Hello.
Tell us about your dad's video store.
It was called Three Cappolas. It was my dad, my brother, and his dad. And there was a family section, a horror section, of this and that. And then behind the beads is just all the most aggressive porn you've ever seen. And there's no door, no curtains. So I constantly was like, hey, Dad, I'm going to clean the store. He's like, all right. And I just spent like an hour in front of the beads. Like,
just try to like
looking at the covers.
Like
all you needed was the covers at that age, the cover of the VHS tape.
Right.
Yeah, but you're probably
crazy, and just the amount of shame that people had returning it.
Oh yeah.
Now, so was there? Do you feel like there was more shame returning it or renting it?
Oh, renting it, they're pumped. They like stand by their decision. A lot of Hasidics too.
Come on, really?
Yeah.
It's like when they're getting it, but when they're returning it, it's like, this is what I did.
They would rent it, especially the Hasidics. They would rent it. They would go to the motel down the block, and then just bring it back like an hour later.
Dude, it's so
you're
wild
in New York.
to
What part
think.
of New York are you in?
Well, this was when I was in Monroe, New York,
Okay.
which is just upstate Orange County. Now I'm in Rockland County.
Oh, you're in Rockland?
Okay.
What, are you over the bridge or before?
Yeah. So I'm like 10 minutes away from the Tappan Zee Bridge,
Oh, nice.
basically.
Okay, I was in Stamford, Connecticut for a long time, and I had a lot of friends in Westchester.
Oh, okay.
So, and
It's so wild to think about those days. I remember the video store down the street. It was a girl I went to school with. I grew up going to school with her, and there was the VHS tape, and there was a paper clip that was taped to the cover of the VHS, and then there was just these white tags hanging with, like, I guess, numbers of what the video was, and you would just pull the little tag off the paper clip hook,
bring it up to the guy,
and you'd rent the movie. But there was that adult section. I mean, I never went back into the adult section, but I forgot all about the adult section of VHS. I mean, that's what you had to do. Now you can just be privately
right here,
beating
yourself mercilessly.
Anywhere.
Your anterior or posterior in privacy. I mean, the earliest exposure I had to that was a friend of mine. His dad had a stack of Playboys under the bathroom sink.
Oh,
so I went to the bathroom a lot.
Gold mine. What a gold mine.
Yeah, and it was just like, you'd be looking like, oh my gosh. But to have to go, I'm glad. I mean, I would also never, as an adult, go into one of those places and rent one of those VHSs.
Well,
No, I know.
You know what? We laugh about this, but like, to our listeners, like, think about the difference between 25 years ago, how we had to fight for everything. If you wanted to get to the best scene in the porn movie, you had to fast forward it 6 hours. If you wanted to jerk off online, you'd have to sit there in front of a pixelated JPEG as it downloaded on dial-up. So
no, dude. Do you remember who
all the delayed gratification in the world?
Listen, did either one of you, James? How old are you?
35.
Okay, this might be before your time. Do you go by James or do you go by James?
Jim is my dad. Yeah.
Looking at Spice Channel through the Wiggles.
96, channel 96 for my TV.
Okay.
I remember it was finding.
You started young.
It was like when Daniel Day-Lewis found gold in There Will Be Blood. like I finished my dinner really quick. That was like the beginning of my like eating disorders. Just like eating as quick as I could, just to run upstairs. It's like, there's a nipple.
Yeah, Spice Channel. And you'd be watching that stuff. It was crazy.
Dude, my old man had a side hustle where he would sell the chips that would unlock all the cable boxes.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm 12 years old. My old man's got a stack of these things because he's buying them through some guy at work, and he's just getting people's black boxes installed, and I'm helping him. And you got to actually solder these things into the cable box, and half the fucking time they're plugged in, and he's got me in there. I got electrocuted like 5 different times. But as a reward, I had an unlocked box in my parents' house while my grandmother, who's 100 years old, sitting on the fucking first floor because she can't get upstairs. And I'm upstairs just multiple free Spice channels kicking all day long. All my buddies are over. I'm like, this is a treasure trove. Like, I'm the coolest kid in the neighborhood. I got all this unlocked porn. And we don't have to do the whole internet thing anymore like savages trying to download all this shit on AOL dial-up. So
the guy who had the Playboys did have an unlocked box, and you could watch clear Spice Channel.
You have to.
Here's here's a question, because you hear these things. I was never exposed to this. James, maybe you could tell me. Aram, maybe you could tell me. Did people ever actually like watch porn and masturbate with other guys in the room? Like they did that? Like you hear these stories of that happening.
No. I don't think.
Okay.
Take it out and start.
Yeah, I would hear stories of that, and I'm like, there's no way that's real.
No. We would just like like high five and be like,
this is sick. Yeah, it was like watching sports with the fellas, except it was just like you sat there and you kind of like took some mental imagery and took inventory and then hoped to act it out at some point later on, but it never worked out that way.
Yeah. Right.
Awesome. So speaking of nutrition,
health and fitness, right?
Yeah.
James, why are you so angry?
It's mainly a persona.
No, it's not.
I'm actually very calm.
We know. Well, your presentation's very calm, but the hurt that's in your heart and the anger. Please share that with us for the people.
Let's unpack that.
It's
frustration. Yeah,
I really like the hot and cold of my page of knowing that I can really be there and show empathy and have a high level of emotional intelligence, but I can also rip you apart. And
I love how calmly you do it. I will say that.
That's great.
I love how it's just like so calm and calculated sounding when you are confronting these things. And this is just like we're all East Coast. Aram's a transplant, but there's just like a different vibe.
Yeah.
The East Coast. I'm outside of Philly. You guys are more the New York area, but it's still like that. What the fuck is wrong with you? How are you falling for this shit? But the kind of attitude.
The best part about it is like if somebody from like the Midwest tried to have an account like yours, it wouldn't work.
No.
You think you're going to... Oh, look at this guy in the supermarket there. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Golly
gee.
So well, tell us about your account and what happened, because you had a huge following.
Yeah.
You lost it. I found you after you lost it. Aram, all he does all day is spend time on social media, so he probably knew you before that. But yeah, so tell us what happened with that.
So basically, I've been training in person for 15 years, and then COVID happened. We had to do the whole online thing. I joined some like
mastermind.
And complete waste of money. I wasted so much money. And I remember like when I was leaving, they brought their like top sales guy to like keep me there.
I know Rob's thinking the same thing right now.
Yeah, and I'm like, I know why you're here.
What are you thinking? Who is it?
Who is it? No.
I know you're not going to say it, but we're always like, tell us who it is.
It's probably one of 4 people I have in my head, but that's okay.
And like, I know why you're here. You know, like you're not just going to make me go, oh, I will stay with you and pay another $12,000. You know, and he's just all right. Well, let's just see how you do on your own. And like,
wow, that's super positive.
And like 3 months from then, I had like 100,000 followers, and it was all from. I gained traction on TikTok very fast, but Instagram took a long time. Finally, this video about me telling women that they're not going to get bulky went super viral, and I'm like, all right, now I'm in front of people. Now I can show them what I can do. Yeah. And as far as content, that's super simple to me. People are like, how do you have time for this all day? I'm like, a post takes me the amount of time that the post is. I'm very quick with it. I've been making videos with my dad's VHS camera since I was like 10. I just ad lib. That's just what I do. And I get inspired and I do it.
Was your first videos behind the beaded?
No. And also I love attention, so that helps. So
I like that. I think a lot of people won't be willing to admit that.
I'm actually very surprised about that. You seem very
I like that.
As extroverted as you seem online, you seem to me like a very closeted introvert.
I'm always just like, did you see the video of me being like, was I ever a stripper? And like me just like dancing and stripping at weddings and stuff?
No.
I'll have to take a look at that one.
Okay, it's in there.
We'll pull that one up.
I just went from 6 to midnight.
But like I'm not. I'm trying to say this without sounding like I'm blowing myself.
No, say it, because that's the reality. Because people, we want people the reality, the realness of people, and I think that people can hear somebody say something like, "I like the attention," and then they brush you off. And
Right.
what we're trying to say is, no, this is a person who understands themselves. And that's what people need. They need to understand themselves. They need to acknowledge and admit that, because if you don't admit that you want attention, then you're doing it in any way you can and pretending like you're going to just do whatever
Sure.
you can to get attention, and then just keep pretending like that's not really what you like. So I think it's fine to be able to.
One of my greatest assets is being able to read the room and kind of, I don't want to say take over, but get a lot of attention from a comedic standpoint, from a charismatic standpoint, and just kind of know who I'm talking to and who I'm delivering to.
Yeah.
And I've just always had that. So I'm like, I'm going to use that to my fullest degree. But I have severe body dysmorphia. So that's where the confidence kind of shot down. Because as much confidence as I have, I'm still a fitness account. And I came from a long time of disordered eating and severe body dysmorphia and being fucked up. So the account meant a lot to me because they saw my growth in real time. They saw me gain a lot of weight and then say, I'm going to start being comfortable taking off the outerwear. I'm going to start, showing you that it's okay. I'm going to start to show you how to be okay with yourself and do this right. So the fact that I lost everyone at 410,000, it sucks because they were with me throughout that ride. And now people are kind of seeing me for the first time and they can make assumptions about me, either that I'm negative or pissed off. And I'm like, you don't know me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't know my stuff, my mission. And I really miss it, but am I going to let it stop me? No, I'll just build my next account. I'm going to fuck.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, no. And I know that I started off with, saying like, why are you so angry? Because we'll kind of joke around about that kind of stuff, like what makes you angry, blah, blah, blah. But you can tell, for me, it's clear there's like that kindness and that peace and that knowing yourself, and you're calling stuff out and you're not doing it in an aggressive, angry way. So even though I did ask that question at the beginning, it's like,
Yeah.
Because a lot of those people I have zero interest in following. Like, you're now doing exactly what you're trying to call out. You're doing it in this extreme way. Like, these people, like, you're just using them to create content, and then you're going to be this polarizing individual. You always say it in this compassionate way. So
yeah.
I do appreciate that about you.
I will call someone out, but I'll do my best to try not to attack them as the individual that they are, mainly their message.
Yeah,
the last thing I want.
The message, that's fine.
Right. Like I find,
unless it's Andrew Tate and that woman.
Right. And what's funny is I kind of sometimes made little digs at people, and I even made a post about how I want to like man up and do better and, stop doing that. I don't want to create toxicity in my comments, because there's some people who have very toxic comments, even though they kind of mean well. And I didn't want that. And it was just funny how my account was taken down soon after that. But
was there so is that what you think it was?
No. I think that someone
reported you, kind of thing.
I think that someone did like a mass report. You can get AI and get a ton of bots to mass report you.
Yeah. Wow.
There was I get a lot of death threats and stuff.
Do you think it was the mastermind?
No.
They didn't like seeing your growth, and they were like, "Fuck this guy."
No.
And what was the mastermind again?
Almost.
Imagine you just slip.
You said it before. What was it?
Honestly, the 12 listeners we have in South Jersey wouldn't even know, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We're bumping up.
There was a person, and I made a post about this, who like really went to town and like fat shamed me, and like they were crazy. Like I tagged the wrong person when I called someone out. It was a fan account, and this was like a crazy fan. So like they said that they were going to kill me and rape my skull.
Wow.
And stuff. And then they just posted they found all the fattest pictures they could. Like I ruptured my C5 and C6. I couldn't live for 6 months, and I had a spinal fusion. So I had to build myself back up from there. So they pulled my before photo and just like circled my fat everywhere and just posted it. And I was fine with it. Like when you're that crazy, I'm not going to get offended.
I mean, that is a deranged.
So like
hurt.
I think that a person that crazy would go through the effort of getting me shut down.
Yeah.
And then what kind of like you're literally getting like death threat outside of that
Oh
account?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
for what?
Fucking seed oils.
Oh, like you should die because you think they're okay.
This is what makes them feel important. This is what makes them interesting with conversation topics. I'm squashing their worldview. Now they feel like worthless pieces of shit, and they want to take that anger out of me instead of go to therapy.
I mean, I could.
Did you ever have a fearful feeling?
No.
Was there? Okay.
No.
Just
They
curious.
can't fucking tie their shoes.
Well, now they all know where you live. You told us.
I've never understood this idea, this like identity that gets poured into your nutritional preferences. Like, who has the time to label themselves?
It's a status thing. It's a status thing. If they couldn't tell anyone, they wouldn't do it, and they don't do it. No one that outspoken is that perfect.
Of course not. Okay, it's impossible.
And if they are, they're fucked up.
Yes, right.
Well, like, so
it's a lose-lose.
Can you imagine that that's the only interesting thing about you is that like you're like plant-based and you don't eat seed oils? Like that's the most interesting thing that anything has ever happened to you. Like, I don't eat seed oils. Wow.
Can you imagine threatening someone's life?
I couldn't.
Because they were an anti-seed oil.
Couldn't.
Right. So it's seed oils.
Aspartame.
They think that every woman I defend is because I want to fuck them. Like, just
unbelievable,
crazy deranged shit, and it's just people who can't appreciate nuance, can't understand that we all have different approaches, and they're just like, no, this is it, and it's like, all right, fine, go in the corner, shut up.
That's like Beth Farraco. You know Beth Farraco?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So like I had commented on one of hers, like we're friends. I commented like, what kind of coach are you promoting processed breads and whatever it was, whatever I put. And the people, that was great. Some people though were like, I know this is ridiculous. But then a lot of people jumped to her defense like, what kind of fucking coach are you? And then like she had to reply. I mean, it was months of that. And she's like, how long is this still going to be a thing that people are getting triggered by? And I put like a cry face emoji at the end of it to attempt to make it look like I'm being sarcastic.
Sure.
I don't know how there's not a sarcastic font yet that we can use.
I know.
To make this clear.
I was literally just talking to her right before this podcast.
Yeah. Ask her about that. It's just like, but it's crazy. Like people will be so dogmatic about these topics, and it's just wild to me.
That and like their worldview is so skewed about their body and their worth. Like there was a guy who was just really, really embarrassing himself, who like his whole page is his body and stuff, and he was just making a bunch of like fatphobic comments, and people were just like, no, like you need to grow up and stuff like that. And then he's like, well, I don't have to listen to all of you because all of you have a BMI over this. And it's like, do you hear yourself?
So do you, by the way, if you're Jack.
That's crazy.
Right.
Just like, yeah, I mean, Rob's fucking morbidly obese.
Yeah.
According to
I'm 5'9", 240. Yeah. So
dude, I'm this is the first time ever I'm the tallest guy in the room at 5'10".
Nice.
5'8.5". You got me beat by a half. I'm gonna hang on that laurel pretty hard. I'm only 210 now. I feel a little anorexic now because of what you just said. I'm gonna have to go and eat a little bit more.
Yeah. Now, in general, you're still doing in person? You're doing online?
No, I haven't done in person in 3 years.
Why are you such a pussy and you don't do that?
I have clients in London, Australia, Italy.
Awesome.
I just I have so much more of a bigger reach, and I don't have to. I don't even like train them like for like the hour. I just give them their program and then I coach them through it.
Yep.
Well,
I just give them support calls.
I was just talking to a client about that today. Like I same thing. I've been training people for 15 years in person, and I've had astronomically better results with people online.
Oh yeah,
because we're controlling and managing so many more of their variables with them, and we're educating them, and there's more touch points, and there's more support. At the end of the day, when you're a fucking trainer, you're a hairdresser. They walk in, they get their shit done, they gab with you for an hour, then they fuck off.
Yeah.
And then they fuck it all up 23 hours out of the day afterwards, and you have no control over it, and they don't even understand.
Exactly. And the worst is like when they completely rely on you. Like there was this client who I had on like 3 years, and I asked her to do a set of RDLs, and she was doing rows, and I'm like, 3 years. I was like, what are RDLs? And then she's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh.
And that's the problem is like you can't, as much as you want to take that time in between sets to like educate, it ends up being a therapy session for them because they don't like a lot of times what I noticed, even in like some of the more affluent areas where I was working in Greenwich, Connecticut, these people don't have a ton of friends. They don't have a ton of confidants, and they just pour all of that stuff into you that day.
Oh, of course.
Which is great. Like, I don't mind playing that role, but like,
same.
I'd also like to be able to teach you where your lats are and what they do. And I'd like to teach you how to stretch your hamstrings while we're sitting there in between sets for 2 minutes. But then you end up like, you know, am I a customer service representative? Am I an entertainer? Am I a therapist? Like, what role am I playing today? And that's the hard part.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, because we've talked about it before, we all agree it's vital to have had that in-person experience.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So your lifestyle, you're loving the lifestyle now compared to before when you were doing it in person.
Hell yeah. I mean, not only did I do like 120 hours at the gym, but like in between my sessions, I would go travel to different parts of the city and go back. Like I would do 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. pretty much daily. I averaged about 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night for a few years.
Were you training in Manhattan?
Yeah. I was
Equinox?
management. No, Crunch. I managed
Equinox.
Park Avenue and the 38th Street location. I worked my way up in less than a year.
How old were you for that? Were you early 20s?
26. 26.
Dude, it's crazy. Like I look back and think like I was a trainer at 20 at LA Fitness. At 21, I'm the assistant manager of the training department. I look back and like there's no reason. You know, we're just doing sales at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I look back and think if a 21-year-old was trying to sell me, like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know shit.
No way.
But, you know, I think I had a heart. They all called me Slim Jim. I was the only one not on steroids and all that kind of stuff. So like I had a heart. I wanted to help people. But yeah, it's crazy to think like at 21, 22, they're putting these people with these.
So it took me a while to realize how much they didn't give a shit about me. Like, even at like the corporate level, I thought that in management they would care more. Like, no, like
the numbers.
Yes, because like something happened where I know that they didn't have my back, so I kind of just like I just completely turned off, and I'm like, I want to drop out of management. I'm just going to be a master trainer, and then I'm like, I'll go to 59th Street. I like that club. And then I went up to the manager and said, hey, I know this works. I know how this works. I'll give you a minimum of $10,000 a month in training. I'll give you a minimum of $500 a month in supplements. I'm not going to the meetings. I don't want to be bothered about anything. I will give you the numbers, but if you go against this, I'll quit. And they said, okay. And they just let me do my thing. And then eventually when COVID happened, it was just a easy break. My clients came with me. You know, they try to threaten me. I'm like, what are you going to do?
Good luck trying to hold that. Those non-competes don't hold up in court anyway.
Yeah. So
especially it's like when you're doing it on your own.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't have a business.
Equinox threatened me with that shit. And I'm like, what are you going to do? I built the loyalty. I managed the client. I managed the business. What did you do? You sold them on a package and then you fucked off?
So luckily I was able to kind of have some level of income while I built my brand and business because I brought over like 15 people.
Yeah. So
I do remember such a quick turnover. I learned very early. They don't give a shit about you. It's the numbers.
No.
Just seeing the turnover. What would you say, like if you were to describe, because you're clearly a passionate person, to lose the following that you had, to get right on, and when you spend that time getting on your site and just showing appreciation for how you've grown it back, and it's not to what it was, but how quickly it's been growing back, what would you say that you're the most passionate about in this space? Whether it's the people that you work with, the topic, or whatever it might be, what are you on fire about?
When I really see people who are lost and I could easily steer them in the right direction, or if I see people who are hurt and just want to give up, and I know their thought patterns, and I could easily kind of convince them in a different way that's less toxic. Not like all you have to do is do a 72-hour water fast or this or that. It's like, no, it's a fucking human being in front of you. Just talk. And I find that I really do get, I really, really am genuine, even though it's a persona. I do feel it very deeply when I respond to people, either out of anger or love. And I think that people just are organically attracted to my page because they know I'm not full of shit. I don't have a hidden agenda. Right in my pinned video, I say exactly what my services are along with the rates. I'm not gatekeeping anything. I never even like promote my training, really. It's just
I haven't seen it.
the application's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had so my question
that.
to you is this, and I think this is an important one because we get fucked with this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We hear the conversation about scope of practice shoved down our throats constantly, and let's be very, very honest. What you and I and what Jimmy do is very CBT based, like cognitive behavioral therapy. We're not licensed therapists by any stretch of the imagination, but what we're doing and how we're helping people falls very in line with how those folks work with their patients. Do you ever get shit from the community of people that are in that practice?
No. They actually send me people.
Okay, cool.
I make it very, very clear I don't practice out of my scope of practice. I don't do meal plans. I don't treat or diagnose any sort of cognitive behavioral issue. I am just a very good listener, and I utilize empathy and my personal experience to make sure that they can get through this journey as painless as possible. That's about it.
And it's interesting to me how many people will still look at that and be like, well, that's not your responsibility. I mean, like, okay, like, what are we going to do? Just keep assigning people macros and calories and sets and reps and hope for the best?
Yeah.
Like, we have to,
I can't imagine.
We have to be able to also deal with the stressors that people have in life, and we have to be able to provide them with an outlet, because
there has to be a real world application to this entire thing.
Yeah.
Like, what's the goal? It sounds like all three of it's like, I could give a shit about your physical transformation if you're still fucked up in the head.
Oh yeah,
like it's
absolutely
cool, but it's just, I just can't imagine. And there's so many coaches, and I'm sure we've all had those clients that come to us and be like, yeah, I hired this person. It was like some big name. You can email once a week, and you get 24 hours. You'll get a response, and you're a lab rat. They don't give a shit about your life. Well, did you hit your macros? Did you hit all the workouts? And that's all it is. And then they get their before and after photo, and these people are more fucked than they were before.
Yeah, like no shit, they got results. Like I have people who have come from fucked up people all the time, and they show me their meal plan, and it's like 3 ounces of ground beef and like kimchi in the morning, a protein shake, and like chicken and green beans for like dinner.
Sounds perfect. That's my day.
And like, yeah, of course you have the before and after. Right? If I wore a jetpack in a marathon, I would get first place.
Yeah. No,
it's crazy.
It pisses me off.
I love the technical side of this business because I'm a nerd, and for me, it's fun to be able to talk about it with other nerds. But the reality is none of the X's and O's are ever going to matter unless people have some control over their emotional regulation and some coping mechanisms for stress. And it's hard for us too, because I think sometimes people will look at guys like us and be like, well, you guys haven't figured it out. I'm like, no, we're actively figuring it out, and we're practicing it. And we might be just further down the road than you are of figuring it out, but you're going to get there at some point also, if you don't stop trying, because at some point it's not just about the food. It's about, why are you eating the food? It's not about the workouts. It's about, why am I doing the workouts? And it has to be bigger than just being a certain shape or size, because anybody that's been on the road long enough knows that the aesthetic part doesn't fucking matter at some point. You just don't give a shit. Like at 40, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like how much bigger and stronger.
Someone doesn't think I'm in shape. I'm like, okay,
good, great. Like,
you think I'm going to lose a wink of sleep because you don't think I'm in shape?
Half the best coaches online, technically, if you were to look at it, don't look the part. Why? Because we're fucking busy, and because we're managing 100 clients or 50 clients, and we're taking care of them while trying to take care of finances and our own family and our own household.
And also because it's not the reality of actual health.
No, because you
can't.
Being shredded is not the reality.
It can't be. And that's why there is technical science to this. So I never want to poo-poo that and say that that's not real.
Sure.
But there's also, I think, if people were really going to quantify it, it is so much more psychology than it is physiology always.
Of course. Based on my previous or my eating disorder like history, I was preventing weight loss within itself when I just did a body recomposition, which I accomplished.
Tell us about a little bit about that, the background of that, what your eating issues,
So
and when that started, and what did they look like?
So it's a typical thing, like fat kid who was bullied, lost the weight due to being bullied.
How old?
So I'd say from like 8 to 14.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the fat kid era.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I did wrestling, track, and football. And then I just, by 15, getting close to 16, I just got jacked. Like
Yeah.
I definitely was pretty jacked, but I was also obsessed.
Yeah, but back then, you just pick up a weight, you start eating a certain way, and it just kind of accidentally happens.
Way to undermine his effort,
No, but
Aram.
I'm just saying,
Piece of shit.
physiologically back then, it was so
Sure.
much easier because we've never had any stimulus.
Yeah, but it's still just like Schwarzenegger on steroids. He still had to bust his ass in the gym.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
I hear what you're saying though, but still, there's that word. Yeah.
Yeah, like I had no problem with being fully deprived. I had Kashi
wrestling.
Goline. Yep. I had Kashi Goline cereal, which was cardboard and egg whites, and then I had salad with just like plain tuna, and then I had 2 chicken breasts with peas for dinner, and this was like pretty much my meal for like 2 years. And when I partied or whatever, or when I kind of gave in, I binged like crazy, or I drank like crazy. I also didn't think I had a lot to offer besides my body. So due to kind of insecurity, I would just be kind of like a party pony and just try to impress people and stuff. And this went on into college, and eventually at Crunch, I still had a 6-pack, but I was the only non-competing bodybuilder, so I was the fat one, right? And I always kind of got picked on for that, and I'm like, all right, so that's when I started chewing and spitting, and then I had exercise bulimia. So whenever I ate something remotely indulgent, I ran 5 miles.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what time it was.
I had a buddy in college do that. He was like, he went to some like modeling, like model search thing. And one of the people said, you look good, but you got to lose X number of pounds. So he comes back and he would be like, all right, the calories in this sandwich were this much. And he would get on the treadmill for that many calories.
Right.
Hours.
And like I made sense of it. And what's funny is at this time, at my leanest, I ate the most shit because I was the most deprived. Like I would get like fries from McDonald's, a Whopper from Burger King, this and that, right? But like now I'm like eating the cleanest I ever have because I give myself permission to have whatever I want when I want. So it's not like forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
Also, just I look so much healthier and stronger because I'm actually fueling myself instead of depriving myself to look a certain way. I might have been more ripped, but I'm 10 times stronger now and healthier.
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm just kicking myself. Like, why couldn't I have the emotional maturity to know that this was possible?
Yeah, but just I'm at that place where it's like everything is necessary. Without that, you might not be who you are today.
Sure,
I mean,
absolutely.
It's just so necessary. It's like I'm that person who's now just looking back at everything that maybe somebody might regret and being thankful for it. It's absolutely what's created the you that you are. And the empathy that you have and the understanding that you have and the page that you have and the business that you have. Without that, none of that stuff would probably exist. You might still be fucking around with some of that stuff if you never hit that dark spot.
Yeah.
You know, so
I'm a firm believer and everything happens for a reason. Like when I got really dark, I got down to 600 calories a day, and just due to no sleep and drugs and alcohol and this and that, like my testosterone just like plummeted. So I got hooked up with someone that put me on a TRT, like topical like cream.
What age is this?
This was in the last 2.5 years.
Okay.
And then I just started making lifestyle choices. I saw this blacked out photo of me at a bachelor party, just kind of bloated and puffy and stuff like that. I just opened my...
Where you were blacked out.
Yes.
I'm like, a blacked out photo. Wouldn't this be a black screen?
No.
Oh, gotcha.
And I was bloated and puffy and like 250 pounds. And I'm like, you just opened up your coaching business. You got to stop living two separate lives. You got to make a choice. Yeah. So I just got a blood panel. I realized what I needed to do. It changed my life. And then I just started being honest with people and just helping them do this right. And then my body I started to love my body. And I knew that I was kind of fixed pretty much because when I had my spinal fusion after I ruptured my C5 and C6, I don't know how it happened. It just happened over time. And eventually I just had to go to the hospital because I was in so much pain. But I lost a significant amount of muscle, and the body that I had would be unacceptable to me at 26. I would have went like anorexic, but but I had a smile on my face because I'm like, I still think that I look great. I did a great job maintaining. I didn't just hide, and I'm going to build it back up. And then about 6 months later, I was deadlifting 500 again.
I think it helps to have that. I mean, I don't know if you were sharing about that along the way with your audience, but I know like when I tore my Achilles last year, I think one of the most beneficial.
That's a rough injury.
It sucks, but like
it's not that bad. He hammed it up. Pale
in comparison to a ruptured disc. I mean, I had a couple on my back, but it wasn't in the cervical area.
That fucking Achilles is awful.
But I think about it this way. Like, what do we always tell our clients? Like, accountability is what keeps you in the game, whether you're accountable to someone else externally or you're intrinsically accountable to yourself. It's very hard to keep up that accountability internally constantly because you're just fighting and struggling and trying to find reasons to stay in the game, as opposed to what I'm sure probably helped you is sharing that experience with other people and empowering them to do the hard shit that they were maybe avoiding doing or they didn't think they could do, but you were like, hey, this sucks and this is my truth right now and my reality, but I can fight through it a little bit. I'm going to have bad days and I'm going to talk to you about these bad days. And hopefully by me talking about these bad days with you, it'll help your bad days be a little bit less shitty.
As much effort and I tell this to people all the time, as much effort as you put in trying to impress other people or do well by other people, just switch that to yourself.
Yeah. You're taking away the ability to impress yourself when the focus is impressing other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, my post today was roughly along those lines of like, did you know that you can just be you and do things for you? You know, and then whatever I said after that, I don't even know. I have some random thought and I make a post about it. It's at Jimmy Nutrition, James. I would appreciate a follow. I'm really
of course.
I'm just kidding.
I got you.
But that'll be the trailer for this. And then you just share me asking you to follow and you saying, yeah. But yeah, I just think it's awesome. Like I get emotional about, I'm just a mess at this point in my life. I just get emotional about anything that's just so inspiring, and to hear you talk about that stuff and to be able to look at your body and be proud of it. Like and what you described, what you're passionate about, like, yes, like this is what pumps me up, where somebody starts to see what their body is able to do. And they can be proud of themselves for what they achieved. And they're not going to let the last 5 to 10 pounds affect anything in their life. I mean, the amount of people, it's like, I just want to get rid of these last 10 pounds. I'm like, is that last 10 pounds stopping you from doing something that if you got rid of it, you'd then be able to do? And it's never.
Right now.
Yes. You could still climb. You could still hike. You could still fit on every roller coaster. You could still do everything. And you're letting this ruin your life. And it's only because you want that approval from other people.
Oh, yeah.
You will never convince me otherwise, because nobody ever says, I just want to see if I can do it. I just want to fuck around and find out and just see what it takes to actually lose that.
You would need to basically go into like a bodybuilding.
Yes. And that's different. If somebody wants to do that because they're just like, hey, I want to fuck around and find out.
Yeah, if it's a fun personal challenge that isn't going to destroy your relationship with yourself or your food, then go ahead. If you have the
that's it too. It's I make it very clear on my page. I am not anti six pack. I have a lot of shredded friends and colleagues who have emotional intelligence who realize that that's their choice. They don't say, like,
you should too.
Your kids are looking at you. Your kids think that you're a disappointment and stuff like that. Like, fuck you.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody thinks that, they've never met another human being.
I know.
I mean, I've never met somebody. I've never ever in my life met somebody be like, my fucking dad's a piece of shit. Did you see that? He only has like a 4-pack.
Right.
You know, it's like you see the worst human beings possible. Scumbag, crackhead, motel living people, and the kids love them. Like they love them. Like to think that you're letting your kids down.
I mean,
it's like, come on.
Yeah, it just comes down to, I think, a level of self. It's just evolution. You know, it's maturity. I think, guys,
it's evolution.
The longer you stay in this game for, and the longer you make decisions about your eating and about your movement as an individual, because it's rooted in how you want to feel versus how you want to. And there's nothing wrong with having aesthetic seasons. And I think the same way.
No, nothing wrong with it. Just don't think you're better than anyone because of it.
No, of course.
I mean, I am when I get shredded, but it's different.
If I shredded, you mean shredded wheat. That's about how shredded you are.
No, but I love the fact, like that you even had that evolution at 35. I mean, it's been only until my early mid 40s that I've kind of gotten to that point where I've become a little bit more detached from that.
The reason why it's for so long I haven't found this peace, because it was always for other people and everything, and I couldn't honestly be honest with myself about how healthy I was because of the binge drinking and drugs and binge eating episodes. But like when I finally have my shit in check, and you know how strong you are because you can't misinterpret that. It's you versus the weights. You know what you're capable of.
45 pounds never lies.
Right.
Henry Rollins.
45 pounds is always 45 pounds. Yeah.
And like my endurance, my mobility, my business, this and that, all things that can't be misinterpreted. So then therefore, there's nothing that anyone could say that would make me think otherwise. Like, what? You don't like my body? Okay. Cool.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, I still got all this. And in the past, I didn't really have anything else besides my body. So that's why I think people get so mad.
Yeah.
And bro, when I hear you talk about this stuff, it is so remnant of, because I used to be in finance in Stanford. So I was New York Metro through and through. What did our lifestyle look like? We worked our ass off. Then we went to the bar. And then we did blow, and we were out until fucking 2, and then we rinsed and repeated and I still worked out, I still ate well, but it was all because I was trying to keep up with that New York City fast paced,
of course,
I can do it all persona.
Health was the last thing on our mind.
There was no fucking health. It was just how much can I run myself into the ground without dying, and then what did I need to pick myself back up to get there? And it wasn't until I realized that I had to move. Like I had to get out of, like I moved to California in 2021. Now, don't get me wrong. And I'm very transparent about all this stuff. I still do recreational drugs every once in a while. And I still drink like an asshole every once in a while, but it's for an intentional getaway mentally and to stop being
not just to get fucked up. Right.
Yeah. It always sounds funny whenever you say it. And I agree. And I know exactly what you're talking about when you say it. It's just always so funny every time you're like, when I do drugs, a drink. It's with intention.
It is.
It is.
Well,
listen, I understand what you're saying, and I agree, and I get it. The average person that hears that, they don't get it. So I always laugh
drugs are like
when you do say that.
To me, like people love cheeseburgers for a fucking good reason. People love drugs because they make you feel good. Like that's why you.
Well, as long as we're being open, when I came up with the name Zero Shortcuts Training, it was through an acid trip.
I was going to say, Aram wants to know what your favorite drugs were. So acid was one of them. So how did you go with the name?
You're a lot more enlightened than I am. I'm a fucking blow and Molly guy.
I did a lot of blow. I overdosed on Molly and I never did it again.
How'd you overdose?
Yeah, I want to know about that stuff.
It was the powder that you like take in, like you put on like your tongue instead of
like make a capsule out of.
Right. And I did everything in excess, whether it was drinking, blow, this or that. So when they gave it to me, I went to the bathroom. I'm just like, all right.
My God.
So it was literally an overdose that you took too much. It wasn't combining it with something else.
No. I dipped like 4 fingers, like kind of like fun dip.
You fund it.
Yeah.
Like you funded.
Right. So I remember I was sitting down and then I started like, everything was just like
sweating like
that.
A fucking animal.
Yeah. I'm like, this isn't what Molly does.
Was there was
and then I kind of just had like a seizure, and then I just woke up in the hospital.
So you didn't even have a moment of this is fucking awesome, and then all of a sudden, oh, that's terrible.
Was that the first time you'd ever done it?
No.
Oh, okay. So you
I would think not.
You just went over.
I would think
went overboard.
I went overboard.
If that was his first time doing it, he's a
I was-
complete psychopath.
I was 21. I was 21.
Okay.
And you never did it again.
No, I never touched Molly or ecstasy again.
Yeah,
Did a lot of blow. I never really had a problem with that. I just, after a while, it just wasn't
old.
worth the pain and
The next day.
the nose and the depression.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
it's Narcan for alcoholics.
Yeah. Then I started just kind
I've
of.
never heard that.
Then I started just looking into weed, shrooms, and acid for just
I was
reasons
just gonna
of
ask,
just
yeah.
being,
The smart drugs.
just like purposes behind
Because
it.
they're
right?
not drugs. They're not drugs.
plants.
Mushrooms and mushrooms and weed are not drugs.
Right. And I remember when
They're
we were trying
God's
to
Dakota
find a name
rings.
for the business, and I had a whiteboard, and I was just writing names. I was looking at shit. I was like, blueberries, fucking pictures, this and that. It was like things that made no sense.
Beautiful mind.
Yeah, right. But I was like drooling, and then I look at my phone and I see shortcuts. I'm like, shortcuts, no shortcuts, no shortcuts. And then I Google it and there's like already a no shortcuts thing. And I'm like, zero shortcuts. And I remember my wife was like taking a shower and I like jump in the shower with my clothes on me, like zero shortcuts.
Just invented fire.
Yeah. And I was just so pumped. And I remember like I opened up my LLC, like high.
Yeah, whatever the word is. Tripping. You're tripping
Yeah.
on acid.
And I still had a lot of growth like to do, but that's how it like originated. I don't really do that anymore. If I do anything now, I definitely take an edible and smoke every now and then. And if I want kind of a creative breakthrough, I just take shrooms. I don't really mess with acid anymore.
Yeah, you're smart. I mean, that's the thing is like
That's where it's at.
it's
Those are
I
the magic.
I think it's such a lesson learned because think about how many of our 40, 50, 60-year-old clients are still actually abusing, whether it's food or alcohol. And then it's funny because a lot of times people like us will get looked down upon because it's like, well, you guys do drugs. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
God.
we use drugs for what they're intended to be used for, which is to get the effect of
I
them.
hate-
I have a ton of edible stories. I always
Part two.
I talk about
week.
like edible, like on my page, and like TikTok, I have a playlist, but on Instagram, I posted a few of them. Like if I just take like too much, and just some crazy shit happened. But yeah, it's on my page.
Once I quit being a public school teacher, I'll discuss more of these topics. I'm 24 years in. And then once I'm out, then we always allude to it on here because there's zero chance anybody from my school is actually going to listen to a full episode of this to find out some of the stuff. But
I think that's that's the lesson learned.
Those conversations should be had.
Once you can start to actually consume anything with a greater intention, it no longer controls who you are or what you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that takes.
It's not an escape. It's not an escape.
No. I mean, I would say
if you have a ton of regret, then there's a problem.
and there's not.
Yeah.
Like
and there can be escapism as part of it. It can be part of it, but it's not like I need this right now to get out of my head kind of thing. It's like everything is kind of planned or this or that. But you don't see that with people who drink alcohol on a regular basis.
No.
This is how I need to
escapism.
unwind.
It's avoidance.
Yeah.
It's all it's whether I'm using food to cope or I'm using alcohol to cope. I think I'm doing something that's not bad for me because society accepts it. But guess what? If I actually checked in with myself, I'd realize maybe I actually have a problem.
Yeah. Right. I cannot handle hangovers anymore.
No. Zero interest.
No. I mean,
now because of my year that I've had this year, and Aram knows, and some listeners possibly know,
James, he's
it's not been something that's
shit year. I'm surprised he's sitting in front of us. Right
but it's been the best way that a shit year, I guess, could be. Whatever. So there's definitely been more drinking than typical.
Okay,
but
you gotta do what you gotta do.
It's not I'm not drinking to the point they get a hangover. I'm not sitting there pounding them, escaping. It's like, I need a drink. I'm going to unwind, blah, blah, blah. And because typically I'm not a big drinker, but there's more of it. But I'm 100% with you that I can't do a hangover.
Well, it's funny how like when you start kind of getting to that level, it's like you kind of like, it's like, all right, this much won't make me hungover. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, all right, this much won't make me hungover. It's like, all right, so I can pretty much only have like a drink now.
Yeah.
Like,
half a margarita.
Right.
That's it. That's all I got.
Dude, even like not having a hangover, but waking up feeling like
just groggy.
And like you just need to suck down 50 ounces of water.
Yeah,
I hate that feeling.
Same.
I hate that feeling. Yeah, it's good for you, man. You're ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
You're 10 years younger than me, and you're living. You got the same thoughts, the same mindset with stuff, the same awareness. With things.
Just everything is just so much better. It's so much better, and just like you just normalize shit, right? Yeah. Like you just make sense of it. But like, I love weekends feeling fucking good.
Yeah.
The amount of weekends that I didn't move from the couch only to get like delivery service because I was shot.
Dude, how many people it's like their kids and them are sleeping until 10 o'clock.
Right.
And it's like they're dragging themselves out by noon. There is nothing better than on a Saturday. Like you're up and the sun's still kind of coming up.
Firing it up.
Hell yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And you just did all this shit. I forget what it was. I think it was last Sunday, whatever. It was early enough. I had 3 loads of laundry done. And
that's a productive day.
It was like out of control before like I had to leave mid-morning. Mid-morning, I managed to get all this shit done because I was just up, got the stuff done. Fucking awesome.
James, I'm sure you remember the days walking. Well, I don't know if you had to take a train into the city to party, but I did. And then
Yeah.
So
I lived in Astoria, Queens.
Okay, so I don't know because you had to take the subway, but I'd have to take MTA. So if I went into the city from Stanford, I would take MTA, and the last train out was the 156, and if you missed that, it wasn't again until 4 or something, which was a perfect excuse to go get another bag and just go. And there was times where I'd be fucking walking down the street at like 4:30, 5 a.m., and there'd be those dudes that were like, or girls that were ready to go like run and do something active at like 5 in the morning. And I'm like, oh, you fucking loser.
Fucking loser.
Right.
And then 3 hours later, I'm in a vegetative, comatose, sweating, shaking state on the train on the way home, wondering.
And you're like, living the dream.
Wondering at what point am I going to start to actually feel like a human being again? And it wouldn't happen until Tuesday if it was Saturday. And you did that for fucking a decade without even thinking twice about it.
Oh, dude, I know. Like, my group, we would pregame, drink at the club or whatever, come back, and then at like 3, drink and do more blow.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Why?
And nothing's working.
Why are we doing this?
Well, and the illusion that you tell yourself is like, I'm so charming. Women love me. No, they don't. And sexually, you can't function whatsoever. So what's the fucking point? I mean, there was times where I was blowing Molly, Cialis, and Coke all at the same time to try to get something going and
Same.
And it wouldn't work. All it did was led to a blue bloody nose, and that was about it. And like, but I'm in the same camp as you, because if that shit didn't happen, I would be like everybody else, and I wouldn't have the story to tell, and I wouldn't have the learning experiences. So I think the problem is a lot of people look at that negative stuff and they harp on how bad it was, but they don't find the lesson in it. And I think
that's why I can't wait till like the future when my kids are like getting ready to like go out and stuff, and either like they try to lie to me or be like, you don't get it.
Yes, I do.
Like,
yes, I do. Good luck tonight, though. Let me know how it goes. You're not going to fuck with them. You're just going to let them make the same mistakes, hopefully as safely as possible, because you can't. That's the thing, is no matter how much we try to take care of our people and our clients because we bleed for them, we have to let them fuck up. We have to let them go through the motions of overeating and then understanding why they overate, or hating themselves enough to go do that 3 hours of cardio. Okay, cool. How did it actually feel? Did it feel like shit? Did it make you any better? No? Okay. Let's talk about why that's not a good and productive idea.
Absolutely. And when you treat things like forbidden fruit, you most likely will run to it. That's why, like, I hate the almond moms full of lip filler being like, my kids don't eat at like pizza parties, or my kids don't have Halloween candy. I'm like, what do you think they do when they're not with you?
Yeah, they're hoarding it under their pillow.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. It's no different than the beads and the fucking porno mags underneath the sink. Like, you're hoarding until later. And that's why I think it's develop a reasonable relationship with whatever it is in front of you, and you'll never lose, because you're always in control, because you get to make the choice. And if you overindulge, so be it. Tomorrow morning you wake up and you move on with your life.
That's why I give my kid a little bit of blow each day.
Right.
Snap. Just a snap.
Just like a half a tab of acid
Yeah, not a big
before
deal.
school, so that he's used to it and he knows.
promotes
Exactly.
It's like, hey, middle school's tough, buddy.
Right,
I got something that'll help. You feeling tired? Oh, you're a little congested? Check this out. It's going to be worse tomorrow, but right now,
we're gonna.
Yeah,
if
dude.
we haven't gotten shut down yet, that might be the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
It's perfect. It's perfect. If people can't understand that sarcasm,
Yeah, you
and
came to
what
the
we're
wrong show,
saying,
folks. Sorry.
then there's something wrong with them. But
Oh, by the way, congratulations on the new arrival.
thank you.
Not you. You're.
Oh, I got a squatty potty. I thought you were talking about that.
He actually had a child recently.
Thank you very much. Yeah, on July 2nd, we had her at 27 weeks. So I was terrified.
A little early arrival.
Yep, but
All
just
good.
the C-section, and it was all right. And she's still in the NICU. Probably going to be there for another month. You know, it's hard. We're going there every day. It's about over an hour each way.
Jesus.
Yeah, people were giving you shit for that too.
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
No, because I was continuing to make a post of like, don't you have like a newborn who's like in the hospital? How could you be doing this? And I'm like,
preemie doctor. What's he gonna do?
And I'm like, fuck you, man. I can deal with this however I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and plus it's like, I'm sorry, I took a minute of my day.
Yeah. To take
do
care of
this.
you, by the way.
Yeah, you have to try to help you.
You can't please anybody anymore,
crazy.
dude.
No. Everyone's a victim. It drives me nuts.
It's unbelievable.
Like I did a cart the other day. I did a post the other day about people who leave their shopping carts out and how much it infuriates me. And the amount of people are like, I have kids and this and that, and I can't leave them in the car, or like I'm disabled. And I'm like,
We know. I go, I know you are.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean physically? Okay.
like if you have an extenuating circumstance, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the people.
There is no extenuating circumstance. You're disabled, but you got the cart, correct?
Right.
There's no extenuating circumstance. How did you get the cart? Oh, you had your kids with you? That's weird. How would you get it back? Would you bring your kids with you?
Right.
Like there is no argument for it. I do not care. I can't leave the kids in the car. First of all, yes, you can. How? First, if that's the situation that you're concerned about, why are you choosing to park?
Move out of your
so
neighborhood,
far?
first off.
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing?
Why are you parking so far from the cart return? If this is like a thing, like it's just there is zero excuse. I can't. Then bring them with you. Yeah. Teach them a fucking thing or two about putting a cart back. Same, dude. It rages me.
Same. There's times where I actually see people put them in front of their spot, and I'll walk over, I'll grab it, I'll wave at them, and then I'll bring it back to the spot. Just so they can feel a little bit of shame bubble up at some point. They won't, most likely, and they'll probably go fuck off to their normal house and they'll sit in front of the TV again for 6 hours. But at least maybe I made a dent in their day a little bit.
I can't. That's what's crazy to me about that stuff. And it only happens, I guess, once you get to a certain size on your account. Mm-hmm. So thank God I'm a nobody. That people even take the time to comment.
Oh yeah,
you're now exposing yourself.
Yeah.
In an attempt to make you feel bad, which is crazy to me.
Of course.
You could also just not tell everybody that you don't put your cart back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It just they're feeling personally attacked, and they need to do something about it so that they don't feel shitty. Like if you feel shitty, then self-reflect. Fucking moron.
Grow up enough to be like, fuck you.
Right.
It's like, fuck you. I'll fucking leave my card out if I want. Grow up enough to have that attitude.
I would respect you more.
Yeah. Correct. Where you're not.
I would also respect the people like the people who say like, we need to stop obesity and poisoning our food and stuff like that. If you're just like, I fucking hate fat people. I'm like, you know what? Thank you for being honest.
At least you're being honest.
Thank you, because this isn't about health. You're full of steroids. This isn't about fucking health.
Yeah. Take the Bill Burr approach. Just be outspoken about it. Just call it like you see it, and then move on with your day. That's all, dude. Take the New York approach. Like you don't like that somebody cut you off, flip them off, say fuck you, and move on with your day.
I have a question for you guys. Have you ever typed out a full comment on like something where you're like, "This is absurd.
No."
You didn't even let me finish, James. I feel
sorry.
very triggered by this. I've done this so many times where I'm like, I type out this full thought to something where I'm like, this is such an idiotic thing and I need to express my opinion. And then I just don't post it and I delete it.
I've done that. Because I don't want to rock. There's times where it's not.
Because I don't want to engage with the people that have to fucking. It's not worth it. But I type it out and I'm like, it's fucking not worth it. And then I just delete it.
So,
ooh, look what happened.
Like I'll get very like angry if like on like one of like Beth's posts if they're like bread is literally poison. I said, did you say literally poison, you dumb fuck? Like, so God, just
like Jesus ate bread.
Just don't say literally.
Yeah,
I know.
If you said bread was poison, we could leave it at that, and we could start to pick apart the nuance of that statement.
Sure.
But the second you say literally, you literally mean that it's killing people, which it never has. I've never seen, unless you put cyanide in it.
That's when you respond with, "That's why I only eat rat poison."
Right.
That's why I only eat cyanide. I would never consume that literal poison.
It's gotten to a point, but they have no problem drinking every single day.
It seems that by consuming this bread my entire life, I've built an immunity to this poison.
Yeah, I'll be fine. I'll be here right after the zombie apocalypse takes everybody, and all the additives to our food kills the entire population. But somehow I'll be like a lizard and survive.
Almost every person in my life who bitches about processed food or diet soda drinks so much alcohol. So I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. You can't be arbitrary about the shit.
Well, tell us how you feel about overweight vegans.
There's nothing better than when somebody tells me about the toxicity of a food and then I ask them how many grams of protein they eat. And then there's just silence. I'm like, okay, cool. So you're very, very much paying attention to your health. How much protein do you eat? I don't know.
Right.
Is it 0.8 grams per kilogram? Oh, okay. So let's maybe table that conversation for a while until we figure out what your daily requirement of protein is, and then we can start to judge other people's diets.
I just want, like, for the most outspoken people, I just want like a Truman Show like camera on them to see how hypocritical they are, because they all are.
Nightmare. There's so much crying themselves.
No one can go through life that clean unless you just like live on your own farm, fucking
Tibet
garden
maybe
shit.
The northern part of Tibet where there is no processed anything. But like if that was truly the case, my insides and my blood markers would be horrendous because I eat deli meat and drink diet soda every single fucking day.
Right.
Every day. Yeah. And I've done so for the last 20 years.
I can't.
Oh, and sprinkle in a bunch of blow and Molly on top of that. So I should be dead.
I can't wait till you die. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Oh, when I die, you will snort me.
Dude, oh, absolutely. And then I'm going to make sure that there is like some kind of sketching on your tombstone of deli meat.
Yeah.
Oh, if I get
Boar's
I don't know,
right?
like some sort of like cancer or something, I can't fucking tell anyone.
I fucking told you, James.
Yeah. Oh my God, I would feel so dumb.
You can't. Well,
yeah,
listen,
but
there's no way to link it back to your.
No. Yeah. I know the healthiest people who sadly like passed away just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then you got the guys that smoke fucking 30 packs a day and drink a bottle of Jim Beam and they'll live to be 110 and there's absolutely no justification for it. My grandfather lived to be 101 and he had a pack of cigarettes and a half a bottle of vodka daily and was totally fine. Now, granted, it was probably organic potato vodka in Russia and Armenia.
Now, being that you guys have a realistic approach like myself, have you ever been accused of promoting obesity or anything like that?
Constantly.
I have not.
I get shit. I got shit today. I posted a thing about how when people increase their protein consumption, they end up doing it with like bars and powders. And then that was the post. But then in the caption, I'm like, by the way, bars and powders aren't bad for you, but eating real food at first and then taking that as a supplemental approach is better. So of course there was a Karen that came out and was like, how dare you tell us that we can't eat? I'm like, I didn't say that. Just read the caption.
I know.
Just please spend 5 seconds because it takes time for us to write captions. And I would appreciate it if not, you didn't just take things at surface level and dug just a tiny little bit deeper into what we're trying to educate you on, because there's a beautiful amount of context that gets provided that you don't give a fuck about.
No, they don't.
Ever. And that
drives me nuts.
Dude, I mean, and that's the thing is I think it's different with you because you do a lot of videos and I do a lot of static posts and I don't really ever put a lot of time into the real stuff, but it's amazing to me how much really good education is out on Instagram. Like, I mean, you can You can learn everything there is to know about progressive overload and hypertrophy,
Sure.
and endurance and VO2 max and nutrition. I mean, content creators are going above and beyond to provide this to the point where, like, I probably would have never paid for a certification. I would have just went on Instagram. PMID is everywhere. Like, there's so much of it, and nobody reads it. Nobody reads it. They're just they have the audacity to comment on it, and they get reactive emotionally about it, but they won't actually ever read into what's being said or why it's being said, and people are taking the time to do it.
I always know the level of education of the people commenting by the temperament. If they want to open up a discussion, have an educated discussion, I'm all for it. I'll talk all day. I'll nerd out.
Yep.
Yeah.
You tell me, no, this is poison. You're promoting obesity, and look at this study from like The Onion. And
Dude,
I'm like,
my reply, my go-to, if any of those kind of things come up, is okay.
That's it. Just say okay.
Like,
right.
I just go okay, and
Right.
you talk about pissing somebody off.
They fly off
have
the
no
handle.
response. I have no response, and I think that's from being a high school teacher for all these years. I mean, I got called the N-word by a student last year.
Wow.
And cursing me out, and I looked at him and I go, okay. Next day he comes and apologizes. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I lost my temper, blah, 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 all this stuff. But I'm like, okay. So
Yeah.
somebody says some shit. I go,
Wait, was the
Also, there's nothing you could say or do that'll make him go, oh, I haven't thought of it that way.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. By the way,
But
was the kid white?
correct, no.
He wasn't, or he was?
No, he was not, obviously.
So a black
if
kid,
a white kid
Well,
called me
a
that.
black kid called you the N-word?
Yeah.
I'd be so proud of
Wow.
myself.
Because I said the period didn't end yet.
Right,
There you go.
right.
There you
I
go.
mean, isn't that like a
It's like, the
a-
biggest indoctrination ever. I'd be immediately.
Right,
I
right.
would have dropped
Oh,
a
yeah.
rap album the next day.
I was brought into that club years ago. So yeah,
I was on a show called Black Glove.
You were
black gloves.
Black
matter?
Glove.
Oh, Black Love. Oh, like a reality show.
Yeah.
Like for
Okay,
actually,
we're gonna have a part. We're gonna have a part two. We're
Yeah.
gonna talk Black Love.
Is this somewhere
it
that I
does,
can
it takes-
find this on the internet?
So
Obviously, there's got to be
the clip is in my content. I'll just put it on my story so you can easily find it.
Okay.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah.
it.
But it takes years and experience, and we'll wrap this up. But
Sure.
it takes years and experience. I mean, you think about what 10 years ago. If it fits your macros, it's all the bodybuilders eating the donuts, and now it's the bodybuilders talking about seed oils. It's like to not see that these things are cyclical, and to just know at the end of the day, what's the one thing that hasn't changed? Eating protein, not over consuming, training, sleep. Like those are the things that haven't changed. And it's just I feel bad for all the people that haven't been in it long enough, and they're like, oh, this is the problem. Oh, this is the problem. It's like you just ride out long enough, you start to hopefully create that awareness that.
Well, also just the assumption that someone's not better metabolically healthy unless they're just like 8% body fat, which is just
It's actually probably
the
unhealthy.
dumbest part of social
James,
media.
We're done with your fat excuses. I don't know why you are supporting obesity, but we're probably gonna have to never even post this episode. This is an outrage to the health community. The information that you are providing.
How dare Lizzo?
Yeah.
How dare Lizzo lose fat?
Right, right.
How dare her not be considered fit? But no, she's doing her thing. I respect it.
Well, James, thank you for
anyway.
coming on, man. And thank
Yeah,
you
of
for
course,
coming on
guys.
It
was
in such fucking
was
short
great.
notice too.
Yeah, thank you. And we don't offer this to everybody, but if you ever wanted to chat again, man, we'd be down to chat with you.
Absolutely.
I'm digging this
Yeah.
East Coast vibe, even though we do have a trader in the house.
Fuck yeah.
And he's Russian, and he loves to tell us that he's Jewish and that his penis isn't so. Anyway,
Just half.
James, we're going to ask you our final question, which we ask
Okay.
every guest so that we can compare and judge you to all previous guests. You are probably guest 150 something at this point.
Shoot.
Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, see you.